What's easier to master than a Haydn sonatina? French pastry dough. You can use the dough for both savory and sweet tarts. It has a rich, buttery taste and a crisp, cookie-like texture. And if I can make it, you can make it. I'll show you how on this episode of Delicious Living. So let's make our French pastry dough, or as the French call it, pâte brisée. And we start with 1.5 cups of all-purpose flour, and just throw that into a food processor outfitted with a metal blade. And then we add a 1/2 teaspoon of kosher salt, and if you're making a sweet pâte brisée sucrée it's called, then you would add 1/3 cup of confectioner sugar. If you're making a savory tart, omit the sugar. And then, just to mix these dry ingredients together, just pulse them for a second. That's it. Then we add 1 stick or 113 grams of diced unsalted butter. If you don't have unsalted butter, you can always use salted butter. And put the lid back on. And we pulse a few times just to break up the butter. Then, move this aside for a moment, we take a large egg. The egg is what's going to give this a cookie-like texture. And just roughly beat it. Pour the egg over the dry ingredients and the butter. Then I'll center this again. And then we're going to just run the machine until the dough comes together. And you'll know the dough is coming together when this soft hum turns into kind of a loud roar. You can hear it changing now. There we go. You try to catch it just before the dough totally masses on the blade. Move this out of the way. And then we need our piece of lightly floured canvas or your lightly floured countertop or board, whatever you use, and dump the dough, which will still be kind of crumbly, onto the board or the canvas, and roughly form it into a ball, and it will come together really easily. If you have any stray bits of flour, just tap the dough against the flour. The dough will act as a magnet. And then form the dough into a disc and wrap it in plastic. And you want to pop this into the refrigerator for, 15, 20, even 30 minutes to let the butter firm up. And then we're going to roll it out. So my dough has chilled. And by the way, if you're in a rush, you can always put the dough in the freezer for 10 minutes or so. And actually, you can freeze it for up to 3 months. And so the dough is cold, but it's still fairly pliable. But I'm going to make it even more pliable, so please cover your ears. There. Sometimes we have to be brutal in cooking. And then we roll this out to a 12-inch diameter circle. And when you roll, start from the center and just roll to about, an inch or a half inch to the edge. That way your dough will roll out evenly. And I just keep turning the dough. Give it about a quarter of turn every time you roll. And as you can see, this rolls out very, very easily. My dough is now at a 12-inch diameter circle, so we're ready to put this into our tart pan. Now, I'm using a 9-inch diameter tart pan. It's a removable bottom tart pan, and you can buy one of these for $9 or $10 at any kitchen supply store, or you can order it online. And there's absolutely no reason to spray or butter or grease the pan because, well, you saw how much butter went into this dough. It won't stick. And let me move this over here for a moment to show you. So the easiest way to get the dough into the pan is to fold it in half, then fold it into quarters. Take the pan, center the point of this triangle, and unfold the dough. Okay. And just gently ease it into the tart pan, like so. You don't want to stretch the dough. Now, some bakers like to take a rolling pin and just roll over the excess, but I think that's a waste of dough. And also, I'd like to have the sides of the tart shell be a little bit thicker than the bottom of the shell. I fold the overhang over, and I just press it against the fluted rim of the pan with my thumbs. Then we're going to blind bake this crust. So if we were to put this crust in the oven, like right now, the bottom of the crust would bubble up. So the way we avoid that is to prick it or dock it with the tines of a fork. And you only dock the bottom of the crust, never the sides. There we go. And this can go into the freezer for, 15, 20, 30 minutes before we bake it. So my crust is frozen, and a lot of bakers will just put this in a preheated 425-degree oven as is. But when I tried that, I found that the sides collapsed and I had a real mess on my hands. So for insurance, I take a sheet of aluminum foil and I just fit it into the contours of the pan, kind of fold it over a little bit, and then I weight it down. And here are my pie weights. It's 1 pound of beans. And I've had these beans for many years. I keep them in a tub called well-baked beans. And then this goes into the 425-degree oven for 15 to 20 minutes. So let me show you what you do next. First, you turn off the annoying beeper, and then just lift off the foil and the beans. set them aside. And you'll see that the walls of the crust are just as they should be. Nothing has collapsed because I used the foil and the beans. But the bottom of the crust isn't quite done, so it goes back into the oven until the crust feels dry to the touch. And that's only 10 minutes in the oven. And here's our beautiful, beautiful pâte brisée tart shell. Now, you want to let it cool on a wire rack until it comes to room temperature. But while it's still warm, what you can do, and this is entirely up to you, is whisk up an egg white just until it foams a little bit, and then brush the shell with the egg white. And this will seal the crust so that if you're using it for a quiche or some other type of tart, the bottom of the crust won't get soggy in the oven. And since my shell is already quite warm, the egg white will dry very rapidly. And then we want to unmold this tart. So to do that, grab a glass and use oven mitts. I have asbestos fingers. And the outer ring will fall right off and you will have an unmolded tart shell. And the bottom of the shell will come right off as well. And that's it. I hope I showed you how easy it is to make a tart crust shell. And next week, we're going to fill this with something really wonderful. So I hope you'll stay tuned. I also hope you'll subscribe to my YouTube channel. And if you'd like to see this recipe on my website, just visit kevinleejacobs.com. I'll see you next time.